welcome to another edition of Clock Talk with Dr. Greg Brannon, founder, owner of Optimal Bio, also Amazon bestseller, gold medallion author. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's a team effort.
And you did this by writing this book, Restore.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to talk about chapter 2 today. Title is Pinch Yourself. You may restore your body chemistry.
Yes.
So when I hear pinch yourself, that means, hey, you got this unbelievable luck. Pinch yourself to make sure you ground yourself in reality.
Yes.
So what do you mean by that?
Well,
title?
basically, I thought more of a pinch yourself, wake yourself out of the dream.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fair too.
yeah, because it feels like you can't be better. You can't be healthier.
But are you in a dream or a nightmare?
No. You know, it's supposed to be make out of it, bro. Okay. But
Well, I'm saying if you think you're healthy right now, but you're really not.
that's a nightmare.
Right.
And that's the idea of it, Jim, is these complaints we have on our body. You're driving down the car and you got this, we'll call a Bugatti. We'll call something crazy. And the red light goes on your dashboard. You have two options. Put a piece of duct tape over and keep going, or find out what the cause is. You would stop and always find out what the cause is. The only red flags we don't do is our own body. It's normal to be tired. It's normal not to be intimate. It's normal to lose words. It's normal to have a belly fat. The dad bod. It's normal to not want to be with your wife or your husband. It's normal. It's normal. It's normal. I hate that. Okay? Something's common does not make it normal. And that's what drives me crazy. And I use diabetes as an example in the book, is that you would never say, if we're all diabetic, it's okay. Like, you want to know what an optimal blood sugar is. And so you get 1 million people in the study. Great. It's big volume. And you get this median standard deviation. You find out what optimal blood sugar is, but they're all diabetic. Your results are crap because it's bad numbers. And that's what's happening today. We're considering everything. We're considering, I was going to say disease, but disease processing earlier or chronic disabilities normal. And that's what pinchers wake up with. It's not there.
Interesting you talk about the car example because, yes, the mechanic has to figure out the cause to fix the problem.
Yes.
You go to a doctor and they don't really care about the cause. They're just simply treating the symptom.
I find that, and I was that
in
doctor.
most cases, not all cases.
Yeah, but Jim, it's true. And maybe it's because I was a surgeon too, is like if I had a bleeder, I could not stop the case and go, it didn't matter. I had to find the bleeder, right? I had to find that artery. I had to find the cause of the bleeding. So as a surgeon, I find a surgeon to be more root cause medicine, okay? At the same time, when you think about it, there's not a single medication ever invented that I know of other than antibiotics that cures a disease. Nothing. They're a Band-Aid. They help the symptoms. It's symptom driven. It's like hot flashes for a menopausal woman. So they give medication that helps the hot flashes. What's the cause of hot flash? No estrogen and testosterone. That's the cause. So why don't you give estrogen and testosterone?
That's a $1 million question. Why don't they?
Maybe a $1 trillion question. There's a book by Mark Richards called Nobody Wants You Healthy. This is pre-COVID numbers. There's roughly, healthcare in America is $2 trillion a year spent on healthcare. Oh, he was actually Obama's White House physician, one of his White House physicians. And he says and 90% of the cost is chronic disease. He believes that people are on bioidentical testosterone pellets, he could decrease the cost of healthcare in America by 50% because he's going to the root cause. But the problem is that he talks in the book, it'll never occur because it's dollars.
Right.
And it's sad to say, but it's true. And that's the thing about this, Jim. That's why this whole idea of the crusade I put in the book too, is that we all have a crusade, a battle to go. And you look at the history, the Crusade's vision was to go take back the Holy Land and to take it back from the infidels. And again, pro, con, history, whatever, but they had a mission to do that. They were going to the root cause. They wanted that land back. And the problem is that we're missing the point of the root cause medicine. Allopathic medicine is not root cause medicine. And there's benefits to it. I'm not anti-surgery. I'm not anti-medicine for certain particular cases. It's life-changing, but it's not the ultimate cause. I believe this body we've been given can do a lot of stuff in itself. And that's the whole idea of how to pinch yourself. The body's biochemistry is friggin' amazing.
Sad thing about the healthcare system, to your point about the money piece of it, on the flip side though, aren't doctors making less money than they did 10, 15, 20 years ago because they're now part of a bigger system, so to speak? And
If you look back at the pre-Medicare, Medicaid, 1965, doctors made less money per se, but kept more money. It costs more money to run a business now. You have to actually have a team to collect money. And it's like it makes it a business. And
because of the
again,
regulations also?
yeah, all these rules and stuff.
Insurances?
And actually, and I think again, if I was a good doctor, if I was a bad doctor, I'd have to stop having patients. But it's not built that way. Is what insurance plan you're on, all this kind of stuff, all these kind of negotiations. And I think we took away the person. That's our whole preface to our introduction to our book is let's get to the personalization of a person, not a standardization of a person.
So again, a lot of middle-age references in the book, and you talk about being a crusader.
And I also think about it, Jim, is also called the Dark Ages, right? So because knowledge was hidden, only few elect had the knowledge. That's more the Dark Ages. That's really what it was. It wasn't dark because of it was not dark in the sense of family or dark because people are stupid. It was certain knowledge was kept away. A lot of it was scripture. A lot of it was science was just by the elites. So it almost became like this soothsayer type stuff. I'm the one in the robe. I'm the one that's the king of this area, and I'm in charge. So the Dark Ages was they purposely kept people, you and me, the individuals, dark. It's a feudal system, right? And I find sometimes that we have a neo-feudalism going to occur now. The experts tell you what to do, and you can't think. Again, the last 4 years is the greatest thing in the world that the so-called experts in the ivory tower, they were completely wrong. And the sad part is we actually did a podcast November of 19 talking about that because you look back at the animal studies, it showed increased platelet factor 4 causing blood clots. So we were asking questions. So the whole idea of the Crusades and that Dark Ages is that there is a light and the knowledge is very, very, knowledge is power. So I wanted to blow that up. And again, the Crusades is a good idea in the sense that they did it as a community. That's why I used the round table.
So drawing the analogy that we are somewhat in the Dark Ages as it relates to health.
Yes.
As well.
It seems like we're not. No, this is the elite time for certain things. Kidney transplant, liver transplant. I'm hit by a car. I want to be in America. I've done medical work around the world. Hong Kong is the highest life expectancy in the world, about 97 years of age. They eat 1.5 pounds of red meat every day. Okay? So that's what's so important that we ask these questions.
Right. So how does one become a crusader? And how does one find the proper BHRT or HRT in this case, hormone treatment?
Or just healthcare in general, right? I think what happens is we talked about one of the early episodes, that was my wife's feeling. Her symptoms led me down this one crusade. I think that's what's so great about the crusade is it's so personal. It's so personal. If you have a child with a certain disease, you become passionate about that disease process. We have 2 lovely daughters who had cleft palate surgery and became passionate about that. So I think you have to find it yourself. The problem is a lot of people are apathetic, Jim, and I hope to motivate people. You've known me for years. I want to motivate people to really be their own advocate. And I believe knowledge is that. Again, I'm not anti-doctor. I want to be very clear on that. I go to some wonderful doctors around the country. It's that I believe a doctor should want you to get a second opinion. I recommend surgery. I always got a second opinion. I think it's important that we understand that the ultimate decision is you. You're responsible. Please take that responsibility.
Cutting to the chase a little bit in the chapter, you talk obviously about hormone therapy.
Yes, I do.
And does it solve a broad spectrum of issues?
Yes, the one I used is very clear. At USC Keck Medical Center, where I trained actually, Dr. Hodis, he actually writes an article how we got to rethink hormone therapy for women. From 1935 to 2002, hormones recommended. Synthetic bioidentical didn't matter. And then the famous WHI paper came out. And I go in detail about that paper. And then how since in 2019, they revised it, said, oops, we were wrong on that. And Hodis talks about just something like this, Jim. Who has more chance of a heart attack and dying, a man or a woman at the age of 50, 60? You always think it's a man. Women are significantly higher of having a heart attack. The first symptom of a heart attack, the number one symptom is death. Women have a higher sudden death. Women have a higher death rate who survive a heart attack. But on hormones, that decreases. Not to zero, but it decreases. Because you look at a woman's life, she's hormone safe from 12 to 50. Every day has this cycle. And then an abrupt stop. Boom. What does it do? It protects the endothelial lining. It protects the brain. It protects the clotting factors. It does all these things besides babies. Men, we gradually lose. And I believe we gradually lose not built in our system. It's because of the xenoestrogens out there in the environment. We spend some time in a future chapter on that. But there are sequelae, disease process. So if you could nip a disease in the bud, why wait for the heart attack? Why wait for the osteoporosis? And that's what chapter 2 shows. That's all. Pinch yourself. It is a biochemistry answer.
The BHRT treatment, though, it's holistic.
Yes.
And it's derived from
yams, soy, a plant source. Now, what I mean by that, there's this.
Vegans should be happy.
Well, yeah, the ring itself, the gonane, the sterile ring itself. There's 4 of them. That's the backbone of cholesterol, and that backbone is in these plants. So the key is where it comes from. I'm not saying irrelevant, but it's important that the final structure looks exactly like the structure that your body makes, and that's called, Mayo Clinic says, they call bioidentical, body recognizes as same. If you have a plane and one molecule goes up or goes down, that changes structure. In testosterone, at the 17 carbon, it goes down. The one that goes up, we know since 1947, causes blood clots and liver tumor by just changing that structure. 3-dimension really, really matters. And again, the pharmacy companies kind of own an organic molecule. So they got to, I believe the onus is on them to tell me their structure is superior to the one your body makes.
Right. Let's say somebody's on synthetic testosterone and then they switch to bioidentical. Are they ever holistic again, or does the synthetic eventually leave the body?
Oh, yes. That's one of the downsides of synthetic. The half-life is shorter, and that makes the blood curve up and down. The so-called roid rage is not the testosterone. It's the up and down of the estrogen levels coming from the testosterone. So the idea is, this is important. The anabolic steroids, again, estrogen, testosterone, progesterone are anabolic. That means growth. It's important. There's also an androgen component too that forms the male characteristics. The synthetic non-human ones, there's 3 categories, have anabolic and androgenic capabilities, up to 1,000 times stronger. That's not good for this system. There's side effects in that. The bioidentical one is the same one our ovaries or testicle adrenal glands make, so there is no side effects other than health. You may get more hair growth, more some acne, you got to adjust the dose, but there's not increased blood clots, not increased cancer. There's not increased. That's a fallacy.
Interesting question that was presented the other day to me in reference to hair loss. You mentioned earlier that there could be some hair growth, mostly in female, but with increase in testosterone. So how do you then
There's a good
counterbalance with the potential for somebody to go bald?
There's a book called Testosterone out of Germany. There's a chapter called The Paradoxical Growth of Testosterone. It makes it grow everywhere else but the head. Okay, so we have it everywhere. It's just women get coarser. But there's a great paper back to Dr. Richard's book. He has a section there from shows the myths, and it doesn't make you lose hair. I find it does though, Jim. Right in this area when you start, called male pound when you adjust to adjusted dose, and it usually shows me if you lose it globally, that's a thyroid disorder. It usually exposes a thyroid disorder. So if I had a magical thing, you'd have more hair. So I don't have the magical thing, but it's an enzyme called DHT. DHT comes from testosterone, and that is genetically produced by some people to lose hair, the male palmaris. We lose about 50 to 100 hair a day, period, as we age.
When you say globally, you're just losing your hair.
Everywhere, yeah. Yeah. And that's thyroid.
It's not a pattern.
Pattern is male. Yeah. Male is right here in the temple there.
Got it. So again, we talked about crusading, taking control of your health, et cetera, et cetera. Is that the main theme of the chapter you want the reader to get across?
And I hit him with some data on, again, the heart on women, how women have a higher death rate of cardiovascular disease after menopause than men, which nobody thinks that. They think just the opposite.
Yeah.
And therefore, and again, with knowing that, by replacing their hormones, you eliminate that or decrease it tremendously. Why would you not do it? And I threw the WHA paper as well, how it was the synthetic arm that increase cancer, not the bioidentical arm. In fact, the bioidentical arm decreases breast cancer by 10%. When you add testosterone, it's actually decreased by 40 to 60%. That's important to understand this data. We have, again, a ton of references to show that data.
And then real quick, synthetic side effects.
Synthetic side effects are basically the same as not having hormones at all.
Okay. All right. So really no difference.
No.
Another 15 minutes of Clock Talk with Dr. Greg Brannon. Again, get the book. It's fantastic. Thank you.